Ever since we called out the 2-hour being able to break through to those new all-time highs with this bear trap down here, we have been saying that we are going to lead into trap number 1 and potentially trap number 2. We overcomplicated things a little bit by adding a few scenarios, but overall, the scenario number 1, the most likely thing to happen, which is the 2-hour pulling back down to that center line, the 2-hour continuing the move, seems to be shaping up for this market, so we need to go into that with some detail. We need to point out where we would head to with the weekly expected moves, and we need to point out if that is very probable at this point. And we do see one signal that we're going to get to at the end of this video that is suggesting that that is very, very probable. So let's get into it. So guys, I was going to pull up data. It really doesn't look like much as far as data is coming along for tomorrow. So let's just hop right into the charts. Let's get you guys some daily expected moves. Okay, 687.28 to the upside. We see 679.40 to the downside. So we have some critical levels for tomorrow, and implied volatility is spacing out a bit. But something that we have been doing is coming up with those scenarios, right? I usually like to come up with 3 scenarios for people to pay attention to. A lot of them were on volatility itself. But overall, what was the main scenario that we were paying attention to for the SPY? Well, when we got this breakout, when we said, okay, these are topping signals, but wait, let's do our job as a trader in flip-flop because we got a higher low and a higher low. So we posted quickly new all-time highs. What's the next thing we look for? Well, we look for the 2-hour to pull back. That would potentially be your opportunity for the next upside play. That means from this area, if the bulls are able to curl up this MACD, we are able to see that cross through. Well, we would be looking at that 693.07 to the upside for by the end of the week. That being said, if we set up a divergence point there, we do still have that looming daily divergence, okay? The daily divergence is still holding on the RSI and the MACD for the SPY, but it is holding on the RSI as triple divergence. So if we go set up that little 2-hour trap, that would be our trap number 1 being completed. Now we're going to go set trap number 2, and trap number 2 could just be that 2-hour move up to here. Now this is a trend line that I have up. If you notice, it just gives you a guideline, right? I use it as a guideline, kind of like a weekly expected move or a monthly expected move. I go, okay, if I see something interesting around here, maybe that line becomes a little more important. It gives me a general area to pay attention. And as of right now, it looks like that area is going to be 693 to about 695 for now. So the other thing about this is if this 2-hour curls up, this is where the bulls can attempt to squeeze through to raise that floor and continue the bullish game going. So as of right now, you would want to be patient, looking for maybe a little hint in here for that 2-hour to cross down if you are trying to, call some kind of top, because the weekly pullback is very, very close. But this means that the 2-hour being positive, right? This right here, do you see divergence? Do you see a lower high? Do you see anything like that? No. So the truth is, if it wants to come down into here and curl up into positive territory, we can go to that weekly expected move. And the other truth is, if the 30-minute wants to curl down and go to this daily expected move tomorrow, maybe even see a flash move down into this 675, it doesn't matter. It would potentially set up a divergence point. The 2-hour would not be negative yet at that point. Even if you saw something a little bit ugly, this thing would be right by that center line, ready to curl up into positive territory. So in order to actually be bearish in this market, you have to take out these lows, which is where your monthly expected move is. So as of right now, what is very probable going into tomorrow? Well, you might have to stick around for the end of the video to see what is the most probable according to volatility, because we posted something to Patreon today that a lot of people were like, oh my goodness. So we are potentially going to see that 2-hour move to the upside. That seems to be very probable, but I'll prove it to you with VIX at the end of this video. Let's go over the Qs for a moment first. The Qs, very, very tight here. I don't really like how this looks for the Qs. It kind of does invite what we're talking about. It does invite that just quick. We didn't even dip down into the gap. So this is what I'm saying. Like, we could easily do this. If the 30-minute wants to rotate down, you see how we're close to negative. We could easily go down to here. We could easily go down to the weekly expected move. So 30-minute crosses down. Yeah, you're crossing down below that 5. It means take out the lows is actually pretty damn probable there. So as it stands for tomorrow, though, downside-wise, 626.51 to the downside. Upside, though, 637.65. So if the 2-hour is going to be able to curl to the upside here, and VIX is suggesting that we can see some upside for the Qs and the SPY. If the 2-hour is able to curl up, something you want to watch out for. This needs to be a moment where you squeeze through, right? You want to see a strong move. The weekly expected move is not necessarily saying that. The weekly expected move, which is a 68% zone that I calculate using the options data, it's saying that if we see a move like this and we actually reject from that weekly expected move, let's say we climb up to here by end of the day on Wednesday, well, then you would potentially be setting up what? Those divergences. So the truth be told here, in order for us not to set up another topping signal or a more meaningful pullback signal, right? A correction signal, if you will, you are going to have to squeeze through here is the most likely thing, or consolidate. You will have to consolidate for a longer period of time. But as of right now, it looks like we're paying attention to the same things. If the 2 hour is able to curl up here, then that would mean that 642.29 would be very likely to get tagged. We have the potential to squeeze through in these moments, so pay attention to that. But as we have created those daily divergences, as we're potentially creating a daily triple divergence, you really want to watch out if you don't squeeze through, because then you can reject. And if this 2 hour makes those divergences, you are very probable to have another top signal in this moment to pay attention to for the time being. Why would we be bringing up tops and stuff like that still? Remember, this daily has not curled up yet. Okay, and sorry, these are the drawings we posted to Patreon, but the daily has not crossed up yet. That means that this 2 hour can pull back multiple times if it wants to. It can pull we can still pull all the way down to 1504 if we really want to. But really in this area, let's take into consideration the 2 hour chart for volatility and tell you guys what signal in here is saying is likely to happen. If the SPY is going to go up one more time and make that little divergence point, well, then that means volatility would most likely back off in some fashion. But look at volatility based on its MACD positioning. It is positive. That means it needs to go negative for about a day, 2 days straight in order to not be near that center line anymore. It would need to go negative and need to go negative fast. So this tells us something. This tells us what? As of right now, volatility is putting in higher lows. It can put in another higher low and make that reversal to the upside. Now, what is overall suggesting that we're going to go create that point for volatility? What is suggesting that trap number 2 is going to take place? Well, this 2 hour needs to curl down. You're getting the 2 hour to kind of confirm there at the end of the day, but you also, this is the signal we pointed out to people early on, okay? The 30-minute here giving the divergence to the downside, right? We're all giving you some negative divergence here, and we posted this to Patreon just saying, hey, this looks like we are going to get at least a 2 hour pullback, if not a full-on 2 hour reversal from volatility, which means we are most likely going to see new all-time highs. Whether that is a trap or a squeeze, we have to do our job to make sure to pay attention to those confirmations. If it is a trap, then we will most likely see a rejection. If it is not a trap, then we will squeeze through and violate those divergences. But this gives you a great hint. Like I had volatility, I sold volatility on this bar right here because I said, okay, that is divergence and we are likely to go set up a high. And if I miss out, that's fine. But if we go to the upside and we get new all-time highs, these contracts are going to be even cheaper. So that's like how I like to do things with my volatility plays. I like to take profit while the profit's good. And you notice here that the 30-minute divergence is showing, telling us that the 2 hour can rotate down. Maybe it's just a quick little pullback to Wednesday, right? Maybe it's just something quick here. But it would suggest, these signals in here do suggest that the SPY and also the SPY having divergences where having divergence right here and setting up a potential higher low with the rejection on the MACD, all of this would be suggesting that it is very likely that the 2 hour is now going to go make another new all-time high. We are potentially going to set up, this was trap number 1. We could set up trap number 2 way up here if I could write 2 very well, and that would be up towards your weekly expected move. So overall, I hope that this information was helpful. I know that there's earnings out there. Things can be pretty sporadic. Things can get a little bit crazy with those. We do have potential data drops and things like that. We'll pay close attention, but as of right now, this is the best information that I can bring you. I hope that it is helpful to you. If it is helpful, please leave a like on this channel and pay attention to that 2 hour divergence to the upside, because if we get rejected from this area, it says we are highly probable to turn down the daily chart. If we turn down the daily chart, you have a triple divergence here on your RSI that is really, really asking for a weekly pullback. So let's just be patient. Let's make sure to trade like water. Let's make sure to pay attention, flip-flop if we have to, because that's perfectly fine as a trader. It's not okay as a politician, but it's great for us. Let the market prove itself. Get those confirmations. Have your reasons for a trade. Man, I'm just saying a bunch of buzzwords, but I'm hyped for this week, and I hope you guys are too. So I hope you guys have a fantastic night. Peace out.